I'm so excited to talk to you,
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to have our little talk.
especially since we had a little like talk the other day that was so interesting because it was like it wandered from, so I was explaining to those listening, I was explaining to Sona that me time for me, or this podcast has been things I learn in my me time, but then also talking to people about their me time and what they do and talking to experts where I learn new things in my me time. But in talking to you, it was interesting because I was struck by your story. So I actually want to talk to you. I want your expert advice, but I also want to talk to you about just you and your me time but this connection to peace of mind. They say like decluttering. So Sona, by the way, Sona is the minimalist. What is the exact
Decluttering
title?
coach. Yes.
Decluttering coach. Yes.
Yes.
Also just has a wonderful story and a beautiful soul. We have a mutual friend, and Sona's going to come help me in my decluttering as well. But there's this connection. What I love about like what we talk about on this podcast is sort of finding your peace to like restore yourself to yourself. And I feel like so much of that comes from the space you're in. And I feel like there's always a connection between like decluttering your home and helping sort of like declutter your mind. So I first still want to hear from you. So I often talk to people that one of the first things I ask people usually is like about a moment of impact or something that sort of changed the course of their life when they like knew they were never going to be the same again. Like from this point forward, everything was going to be different and look different and life was going to be different. And you kind of had mentioned something. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if that's what kind of led her into this line of work. So I will ask you, like, what brought you to this work? And did it come from as I call them, a moment of impact that changed you forever? Yeah.
So it was an evolution. It was very gradual. There is a different story for how I became a more organized person to how I became a minimalist and how I started the minimalist.me. I think from all those stories and how it evolved after I created it. But I think the most impactful one, the one that inspires most, and not just, my friends enough, it also inspired me about my own power that I didn't know I had, is this one, the one that helped me create the minimalist. So I was going through divorce, and what they don't tell you is that just because you had a beautiful marriage doesn't mean that you're going to have a beautiful divorce. Things did not go the way I thought they were going to go. And after months and months of going back and forth and going to court for the first time, it was heartbreaking. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to experience. And when I came home, I was in disbelief. I was sad. I was hurt. I was disappointed and also angry. And after my kids went to sleep, I was just thinking about it so much and feeling like I did not enjoy having those feelings inside. It was just so heavy. I didn't sleep the whole night. And at one point I felt like I couldn't take that pain anymore, the heaviness of those feelings. But the good news is that by morning, I was so clear. I was full of resolve. I was like, I knew one thing for sure, that I would never set foot in court again.
Okay.
I called him and I said, I will sign whatever you want me to sign. I can't. And the reason I decided to do that was because I realized that energy, instead of being negative, I could just shift it and just put into something beautiful and big. And at the time, like throughout my divorce, the book that totally it helped me so much was Eckhart Tolle's New Earth. And there was something like, when you want somebody to give you something and they don't give it, it's like you telling yourself that you can give that to yourself. So
wow.
you
Okay.
can totally, whatever it is, whether it's love, whether it's finances, whatever it is, you can give it to yourself. And I was like, I'm going to create something amazing that's going to help other women who are awake at night at this hour and feeling a huge burden. For me, it was something else, but I started thinking, okay, what's my unique talent? What's something that, comes kind of like I'm naturally adept at, but something that can really help other women. And organizing came to mind. And I know that there's so many women that are at home thinking like, I just can't live like this anymore,
Yes.
And we give and we give and we give. And there's just not enough time in the day to have your life organized, your surroundings, and your mental space. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And it was just 2 days later, I had designed my website. I had like put little ads on, not ads, but like on Facebook mom groups asking if anybody wanted to try this for free so I could build my portfolio. And it was just amazing. It was like magic. Like the first person who I helped, she posted something on her Instagram story. Someone else found me, and through that person, so it was just like these lines that just kept connecting me to the most amazing people. Like I really now believe that if you find that something that gives you purpose in life, anything else, you can just live it to the universe. My clients were like my dream friends, like the ones that I dreamt about when I was a teenager and feeling lonely. I was like, and like, those were my clients. It felt like a treat to get to know them, to work with them, and then see the impact. I mean, it was just magical. So
this is such an incredible story because, I have so many questions. What was your process? Like my first question that came up was like, what was the process on that night? So you had a sleepless night and you get up the next morning and with a whole new perspective. Like so now I'm like, how long can this podcast be? Because I'm like, wait, so how did you unlock that thinking for yourself? Like, how did you go like, this is not good. I need to shift this. And from that was this idea was born.
I have been kind of working on my self-development for years. After I lost my mom, and then 2 years later, my dad, I was going through like, it was everything. My entire world was like, this causes cancer, this causes cancer, that causes cancer. I can't do this, this causes cancer. It was just living in so much fear. And if like when you repeat the same patterns, whether it's in a relationship or feelings, whatever you do consistently for a while, it kind of becomes natural for you. So I started thinking like, am I just an unhappy, ungrateful person? still have this amazing things in my life, but why can't I, and so I started reading some books, and little by little, I got myself out of it. I became very optimistic and just the person I used to be before, when even just riding my bicycle with the wind on my face, I would feel like the happiest. Like those little things started bringing joy again. And so that night, what happened was, first, that message from that book really helped. Like, I'm going to give this to myself. And then another one that was a profound one was years ago, I had heard on Oprah about her talking about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And she was saying something along the lines of, forgiveness is not being okay with that person or whatever. Forgiveness is for you, and it's accepting that things couldn't have been different. And I thought it was amazing, but it didn't click for me. I was like, how, like, can I accept that this happened? Like, it shouldn't have happened, but it happened. It did. And accepting that it did allows you to move on. Instead of just staying in that, but because you can change it, but staying in that space, constantly playing it in your mind. That's why, like, I described those feelings in the beginning of that night. It was just too heavy. It felt like the light in me was getting constricted, and I didn't want it, because I feel like I have so much to give. I have so much love to give. And it was just too hard, where at that point I was like, I have to send light his way. I have to not have to, like, I'm going to accept that things are the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to see what is in my control that I can change. And I'm going to go with that. And that
Wow.
idea of like, what am I naturally, and it's another story about how I came to the organizing.
That's my next question is like,
Yeah.
so obviously I want to bring some, we're going to talk about organizing. I'm going to ask you just like if there are some basic things to sort of start with to help sort of clear your mind. We'll get to that. But like, I do kind of, one of the things I think that makes you different and why I think you're so successful in doing this is where you're coming from with doing it. Like you're talking about how do I help women? How do I bring, or people in general, but just saying, like, this idea was born from a place of, oh my God, I'm forgetting her name. Carrie Fisher. Well, she always says, take your broken heart and turn it into art. So in a similar kind of like, it's sort of turning something into something beautiful that can like help someone else. And that you were sort of looking at yourself about the seed of it was from a place of like, what can I offer and how can I help people, and then it's almost like the universe just rushed in and they were like, we got you.
As long as you know where you're going.
Yes. And
why.
The intention is good and pure. Like it's not coming from a place of like evil or darkness, all those things or whatever. So I'm listening to you and I'm like, of course, as I hear your story, I'm like, of course, like the universe rushed in and gifted you with like this incredible client list and people passing on your name because you're like a little angel. So yeah. Well, we'll get to me time. You just mentioned one thing that I was like, I love that you just said that about like feeling just from a bike ride and feeling the sun on your face and being able to like, not just go do that, but to experience a few moments of whatever that joy is, which is kind of what what I talk about on this podcast. Like me time doesn't always have to be something so extravagant. Like it can be, and we love that too, but like that often it's just that extra minute as like in the sun or taking the long way home or just whatever it is that brings you back to
being
yourself.
Present, and enjoying like
that's it.
Little things.
Yeah, that's it. So I do want to hear. So you're saying how you got to this home organization so you've come from this place and you're having this like, this is so funny. I'm like, I just want to interview you all day about this entire story, but getting to organizing, decluttering, and the connection to your peace of mind that you're now bringing to other people. So how did you get to that? And then how to help us all out and how we can do it. But yeah, how did you get into organization and why? Like, why was that the thing?
So I'm going to tell two little stories that kind of make a connection. So one of the reasons I'm going to share this story is just for everybody to know that if they think they're just not an organized person, they can never be organized and stuff, I want them to know that that is not true. It's a limiting belief and they can completely
reframe or retrain or
replace it with an empowering one. A lot of organizers were very organized as a kid. I was not an organized kid. I was the one who would open the wardrobe and put everything in there, just close it. Every time you open, everything would fall out. And as a kid, I was quite shy. I wasn't very sociable. So I didn't get invited to parties that much. But the one that I would get invited to, my mom thought it was really funny to open my wardrobe, put everything on the floor and be like, you can't go until you clean this up. And I don't know what I think about her doing that. But one thing that was like, I didn't want that to happen anymore. And I don't remember, I was quite young, probably, if she helped me figure out how to do it, or I just started putting everything on hangers, put it all the time so that it's like minimum amount of time instead of like going late to a party or whatever. So it is possible by doing the same action over and over again, you're able to create those neural pathways in your mind that it becomes natural. It doesn't matter what age you are. And here's another example, which is the opposite. When my dad passed away, I noticed that I was more organized than ever. Everything had to be in its place. I literally couldn't leave the house unless everything was in its place. And I realized that this was not healthy because I had kids. And with kids, you can't expect to have everything in its place all the time. It was important for me, for my kids to create, to, be adventurous, to think, like look at cause and effect and be able to play and stuff. So I had to make myself into more of a quote messy person. So I literally had to form those new neural pathways. If there was a mess, instead of like being there and being like, my body would literally try to reach to put it back because that's the neural pathway that I have. But I had to break them by be like, don't you dare touch that. Like I had to literally sit and not touch it.
Wow.
And so that I could become okay with messes, because with kids, that's the healthy way. Like, of course, there's like, you can be more organized and you need to be more organized because it's so much better for the kids' well-being and their mental state and education and everything. But there are also messes that I call intentional messes that are good for the kid, that are good for them. So I had to learn it. So the only reason why I'm telling you this is because whoever's listening, I want them to know that you can change any habit in your life at any time. And there are ways. Like I've created an entire course on how to be mentally and physically decluttered, and a coaching program where they can ask all the questions and we go deep into it. But I want everybody to know that you can change those things at any time. It's just habits that when you perform the same action over and over again, it becomes so strong in your mind. Just like driving. When you first start driving, like you have to check the mirrors and stuff, and then it becomes automatic to conserve energy for your brain.
Right.
So yeah, but that night, what I thought about organizing was a friend of mine had a similar relationship thing where her husband, something happened. I don't know, like he left and we didn't hear from him for a month. And I was like, you know what? You need to change your place up a little bit. And she was like, can you help me with that? Like, I think it's such a great idea. I need to, start my life. Like, I need to, like, okay, like I can't just see stuff everywhere, whatever. And I came and we just organized her entire apartment. I'm actually in her apartment right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I was like, this is the perfect place because this is where it started. And she kept saying like, you should become an organizer. I couldn't have done it by myself. And I thought like, she's just saying like, of course you could have. She's like, she looked me dead in the eye. She's like, no, I couldn't. I couldn't. Like, take it seriously what I'm saying. Like, this comes naturally to you, or I don't know, but this is hard for me. I couldn't have done it.
Right.
And I was like, but it was so easy. But then I realized there's so many things that come easy to other people that for me, it's like, oh my God, how did you do this? Like, oh, she kept texting me every day. You've changed my life. I can't wait to come home. Like, I'm just sitting in my apartment, like with music on, and I start dancing. You don't understand what I was like. Oh, it felt so good. So it was a few weeks, I think, before that night.
Yeah.
When I was thinking, I was like, oh, this sounds like I could help a lot of people. Maybe other people could feel like that. So that's
I love that. On the decluttering life front. And I understand like you have a course and whatever, and people should sign up for the course if they want, but also
ask me anything
for a beginner. So I just moved. I moved apartments within my building, and I had this very confident, like, well, it's just a few floors. It's a full move though. And what I learned was the closet space, even though it's kind of the same, is also very different in my new place. And so I've been in sort of a purging situation, but it's also one of the things. In fact, we just had a podcast about this, that it was just me sort of talking about like, how do you wrap your head around what you what you keep, what you don't, in terms of like what's gonna means like I'll have this thing and be like, oh, I want to keep this shoebox of memories from this old relationship, or I have these keepsakes from when I was a kid, but am I really going to pull them out and look at them? Who are they for? Why am I keeping all of this stuff? Well, what would be your advice? Like, how does one decide, like, as they go through and they're purging or deciding what to keep? How does one, where do you start with, like, how do I know? And what do you keep and what do you let go of? I mean, I know that's a major question, but still.
Oh, I can write a whole book just on that question, but I'm gonna try to explain a way that's gonna give people a lot to think about. So let's go example by example. The shoebox memories in it, right?
Yeah.
So right now, I know what's important for me. I live in a smaller apartment with my kids because I love traveling with them, and I know that's a priority for me. And my small space can only take certain things. So I have space for my memory boxes right now. But if I moved even to a smaller place and didn't, this is what I would do. What would be that one thing, like if God forbid there was fire from all of those memory boxes and stuff, that the first thing that would be like, oh my God, did that get burned? Like, and that would be my journals. I would get so sad if something happened to my journals.
That's so funny you say this. I have a box that's like, this is the fire box. In case of fire, have this box only and leave everything else. But yet I still have everything else. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. And I'm very happy that you said in the beginning that you're doing your closet, whatever, and you're purging. A lot of people, the biggest, most common mistake people make when they start to get organized, they think organizing solutions, that's because it's like the exciting part of the process, shopping, and nobody wants to start from the hard part, which is thinking, making decisions. So they instantly go shopping for organizers and stuff. But if you buy organizers, what are you organizing? You're organizing your clutter because you haven't gotten rid of everything yet that you don't use, or that's a duplicate, or maybe it's your friends, or maybe you don't really need it anymore. And so you buy those solutions and stuff, and then you need bigger space. And then if you do it the right way and purge and go through all the steps before that, like you end up with a lot of organizing solutions that are not the right size, not the right solution. So you organize around it. But if you do the steps in the right order, and I can go through what the right order is after this, if you remind me, I just don't want to lose my train of thought.
Yeah. I'll remind you of the steps. Believe me, I'm hanging on to every word you're saying. So go on.
So the most important thing is not to make that common mistake of going through organizing. Organizing is just a temporary solution if you haven't decluttered first. Decluttering is what needs to happen, especially if you're doing it without an expert's help. So the second thing I would say is start small. Those organizing steps that we're going to talk about, if you start using that, it's not easy, but it's simple. You just follow it in the right order. But even if you follow it in the right order and you start with a garage that hasn't been touched for years, or your attic, or your memory boxes and sentimental items, then you most likely are gonna just stop in the middle of the process and create even more clutter, and now reinforce those beliefs that you're just not good at this stuff and stuff. But if you start small, just start with your purse.
Oh my God. Mine so needs it right now. Oh my God. It's so nice. I wish I could show you. I would literally the other day, I was like, Maggie, this is embarrassing. Like it's
first. Let's organize it right now.
I mean, we honestly should. So I'm going to show you.
First, before you do anything to your purse, grab a pen and a paper. Perfect.
Okay. I have a pen and paper right here. So
write down.
Okay. Okay. This is amazing. Okay. So I'm just showing you. This is like what my bag looks like. Okay. When you look down, I have no idea why the money is so loose. Actually, I don't usually do that, but okay. That's a better version. And I can tell you everything that's in here. This is so funny. Okay. Ready?
Well, usually the step number 1 is assessing, but it's a smaller project. So we're going to start with step number 2, and which is,
I still wrote down assessing, but okay.
I'll
Okay.
talk about it a little later when we do the assessment a little later. Okay, so empty everything out, but not at the same time. We're
Okay.
gonna take one at a time.
Okay.
And you're gonna, as you're taking it out, you're gonna categorize them. Categorizing is step number 3.
And then 3, categorize. But this could work for, I feel like this could work for a closet.
Anything. It can work
Okay.
for anything. It can work for a junk drawer, for a closet. But if you're doing your closet and you've never done it, and you take everything out, and then at the step where we're going to do the purging, it's already, you've made so many decisions and so many things. And now if you get tired, everything's out and to deal with it. So it's a big problem. So you need to, develop that muscle with smaller project and see that it works and how it affects you before you go to bigger ones. Okay. So the first step is taking everything out. But if you want to save even more time, you categorize as you take it out. Okay, sunglasses.
All right, so I'll do this quickly. All right, I've literally got, this is what I don't have organized, Sona, is because I switch bags all the time. This is my main bag, but I'll switch into like a smaller bag to go out or something. And so I don't have a wallet. Everything is just kind of in a pile. So this is credit cards and money. This is all credit cards and cash.
One question I always ask my clients, like, does that setup right now work for you? And what is working and what doesn't work?
What doesn't work for me with this bag is that it doesn't really close. It does have it kind of has a button, but it's still open on both sides. And it kind of opens a lot. So I guess I feel it does feel unorganized to me, but it only has one little slot. So it's not like there really aren't pockets and things, which might be nice, but I'm also kind of impatient. And like meaning I don't often take the time, even if there were like 4 different compartments, I probably would still throw everything into one. Knowing me. Yeah.
So this purse, are you carrying it because you love the purse? Is it because it's easy to throw everything in? Is it just a habit, or why this purse?
I love this bag because for me, we're just talking about, but I love it because it's like practical. It has a long strap for crossbody, and then it has like kind of a little glam element to it with this chain. But this chain is so heavy. So I would say my number one, like the hard part about this bag is how heavy it is. But I do love it. I think this is more habit, and like also that I just like the bag. I don't know that it's the most practical for me, but it is, I just love the look of it so much.
Okay. So when it comes to making decisions, whether you should replace it or you should keep it, that's what I do. Like I weigh in whatever you said. Okay. You said you really like the look. Do you like the look of it more than the amount of energy it takes from getting annoyed if things are not accessible or not? Those are the things.
I do think I do. I think I like the bag more. Like that does outweigh my annoyance with the things that are wrong with it. Yeah, but like only by a little bit, but enough that I would be like, all right, let's make this work.
So that's one thing when deciding whether you should keep an item or get rid of it is that's the questions that you got to ask yourself. If you have like something in your apartment that's let's say is a little damaged or something, and it reminds you of like maybe there was a fight that whatever, like we might think, oh, but this works great and stuff, but that, even if it's subconsciously, every time you see it, it's there. It takes your energy, and you should only, surround yourself with things that it sounds so cliche now, that brings you joy, but seriously, that you really, really love. Like, let's say about my closet, right? I have noticed that the clothes that I wear most are the ones that I had no doubt in my mind when I was buying it. It was like, oh my God, like, they're having me like, I love it. Like, was so unique, and I've been wearing it for years. And then sometimes we keep things that are like, I'll wear it in the home, but then we have so many things that are for going out, but we never wear. Why don't you wear those at home and feel good when you're at home?
This
you
is my also part of my problem. Yeah.
know?
Is that
Mhm.
and I think like this is such a good point because I feel like there is this thing I'll throw on my sweats when I'm home and that I'm, like nobody's going to see. But you're right.
Mhm.
We spend money
Mhm.
on these cute sweats or this cute thing. And, so we're fine. So, but we don't wear them for just ourselves. It's kind of
Mhm.
like, it's like I save those things and I'll be like, I'll wear these out because these are my cute out sweats. But like, why wouldn't I
Mhm.
wear them at home and feel cute in them?
Yeah, and sometimes we even think we'll wear it out, but we always turn to our favorites. And some of the things, even if they look great on us, we never
Right.
get a chance to wear because there's just so much time in the day or so many occasions that you have. We only use some of our favorites all the time, and the rest just, is collecting them.
Accumulate.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, answering your question about when you decide what to keep and what to get rid of, I can talk about this forever, but I'm going to answer it in the shortest way possible. When you decide to declutter, the best way you can go about this is to write down your reasons why you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to bring into your life? What's going to improve in your life? What is it going to cost you if you don't make these changes? Because when we're getting rid of an object, we look at the object and thinking about, oh, but this, is worth this much. It's only one side of the thing. If we don't look at what is it costing us to keep this, why are we doing this? It's so much harder to just think like we're losing money by getting rid of it. But if you think about it, it's like,
Mm.
oh my God, all day long I am affected by this, and I have to come home, rush and start cleaning because there's not enough room in this cupboard. But like, if you had gotten rid of some other things in the other place, you would have the space, and it just takes energy. It affects your time, your money, your creativity. But like, when you live in a space that's just, there's air in the room,
Right. Right.
you just feel so much more clear. Creativity comes, better relationships come, better everything improves in your life. And once you
Right.
start thinking about these things, it's like, oh, I don't really need that, like I can totally use something else for that. Or yeah, that's one, like, to know why you're doing this.
Yeah.
um and it becomes easier to get rid of the maybes.
That I think is the thing, is like you said, that thing that's gotten overstated of like, does this spark
Mhm,
joy or does this bring joy? But it is that
mhm,
kind of that simple. It's like the stuff that makes you
mhm,
happy is the stuff that probably initially you were like, yes, this is a yes.
mhm,
Do you have any favorite? Well, I ask everyone like their three favorite things they can't live without, which I would ask you as Sona, but also you as a home declutterer. Like, what
mhm.
are there like three things that you're like, I love? And then also, here are three things that everyone should start with or have if they're like looking to start to like declutter their home, especially for like fall or a new season or new air.
Mhm,
Anyway,
mhm.
yeah.
I'm gonna merge both because um, I am a student for life and I'm constantly learning new things. And whatever I learn, I share with my clients and stuff. So the number one thing is my journal,
Mm,
and I can't live without it. I have it with me all the time. And on the first
wow.
part, I write, like, it's like a diary or journaling or just like a brain dump when I feel yaggy, and I just need to write it down to verbalize my feelings so that I can look at it in a more
Mm-hmm.
objective and rational way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the back, if I learned a lesson that day, I just write the lesson, because sometimes, like, there's no time to go and read through all of your notes. And I learned so many lessons, like, and I write so much, like, I don't want to keep repeating the same mistake. So sometimes when I feel like I need inspiration, I'll just go to the backside and just read the lessons. Because
That's
sometimes you
good.
forget, you relearn the lessons, like, oh my God, I had learned that lesson. Why did I? Because you just forget.
What a
So
beautiful practice, though. That's
yeah.
like so good to do, to like go back and revisit too.
Thank you. I really got into this when I was reading so that book that changed my life after losing my parents. It's called The Happiness Advantage, and it's written by a positive psychologist. He's a Harvard professor, and this book totally changed my life. And one of the things he was saying is, when like your thoughts are ruminating all the time, it's like a circle, like just goes, because it's working on the emotional part of your brain. But when you verbalize your feelings and whatever you're thinking, it's like a thread starts coming out and it just has an end. It's not a circle where you just keep chasing. It's like your rational part of the brain wakes up, so you can see like, okay, so this is what I'm feeling. Oh, this is why I'm feeling it. Okay, so this cannot be changed, and then you go through acceptance, or this can be changed, and for this is what the steps that I'm going to take.
Right.
So it's just like, or organizing your space. Let me just like, I'm so thing like I have to finish everything I start. So the organizing steps are
yes, assess, take out, categorize.
Categorize and go through each category and purge whatever doesn't serve you anymore, and then find a home. Like, is it going to go back to the same place, or is it going to go somewhere else? And
or away forever.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's the purging. And then so purge, find a home, and then at the end, once you find the home, you decide if it needs any kind of a solution and a separator, because basically getting container is just to separate the categories, so it's so clear that there isn't just like, you don't keep dumping things, because then it becomes a thing.
Right.
So you keep it, but if you count how many items like that you have at home and put them in a pile, you'll see that you will have so much more space in your room, and you can actually use it for stuff that you use. And the reason I went back to that organizing is because the mental organization is same steps. You just exactly empty out your thoughts in a journal, then categorize them. This is for my career. This is the thing I'm having in my relationship. This is, for my parenting or whatever. Okay. And then you purge. Okay, this doesn't serve me. I don't have time for this. Whatever you need to concentrate on, find a home for that and decide what steps you're going to take to, organize.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's literally the exact direct connection to decluttering, both your mind and your space.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wait, I want two more things that Sona can't live without. So you got your journal.
So journal. If you want more like practical things, I can't live without this thing. It's like a timer, and it has things on it like 5 minutes, 15, 30, and 60. I don't like putting timers on my phone because I might get distracted.
That's so cute.
So yeah, like if you want to put a timer for 60 minutes, you just put the site up and then it starts. And this has helped me so much in figuring out where my time goes. Because sometimes like you're doing an email and then it's a text message and then you're on Amazon. But when you decide, okay, for 30 minutes, I'm going to do emails, you put it and then you don't touch anything until you do your emails.
I love that.
If you need to add more time or whatever, like this is a constant reminder that don't go on that phone, don't go cleaning your home, don't reach out for that.
Don't get distracted.
Chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing right now. And batching whatever you're doing. Okay, organizational, like a home product that I really, really love are those command strips for picture hanging. I just love it is. It's just, I haven't used a nail in years, and I just love to have my vision boards and pictures or whatever.
I love that.
I really love how they work. They've never... nothing has fallen off them, and I've done anything from a heavy to a light object. And in my life, I could probably, obviously my kids and everything, but traveling with my kids and exposing them to different ways of living. And we were in Nice this summer, staying with friends in the actually, the second part we're in Nice, but the beginning we were in the French countryside with some friends, and just to see how they lived their lives and be immersed in the culture. And I've been traveling with them since they were like newborns, and they love traveling too. And yeah, one of the things that I try to help my clients see is there is just not enough time in the day to do everything, see everything. So you have to be very intentional and make a list of what is a non-negotiable in your life, what is important. For example, I know that I want to travel every summer with my kids, so I plan my entire year so that I don't have to work in the summer for a month and just be
Travel with
present
them.
with them, you
I
know?
love that.
So when you become intentional and you maybe adjust other parts of your life that are going to make it possible, you know, or maybe for you, it's just, you know, taking a class or spending more time with your friends, just having a coffee. Like, I can't live without my community and my people. That's another one of non-negotiables. So once you make this your priority, then everything else either has to fall off because there's just not enough time. But once you make this your number one, like when you schedule it in your calendar and you commit to it, then you have a more fulfilled life. And that's my biggest purpose in life, to help other women see, like, they don't have to live the way I lived at some point, where I felt like, okay, is this it? Like, is this it? Like, seriously, when you're younger, you wait for your first kiss, and then for the relationship, and then for marriage, and then for kids, or for a career, or whatever. And then there comes a point when, after becoming a mom, and if your plate is too full, you're like, what am I looking forward to? And it can be something as simple as just lying on the grass and just feeling the nature on you. Like, it can be something simple, you know? And
I love that. I've been trying to stress that too, because me time, when I bring me time up to people, I think it's often sort of associated with like having money to take that time or go somewhere and sometimes it's like, it's just that. It's just like feeling the grass on your feet and like being present. I mean, you said it, like whatever moment that is that you take for yourself. Yeah. It's like the most perfect. You're literally defining me time even better than I was, but like that is exactly what we're talking about, and like being present and also just taking that extra little bit of time. I love that you just said that, but I also love that you're like living it. You like live this, you know, this is like, and how you've taken this skill that you have and thing that you've learned about yourself and are now taking it to help other people and enlighten other people and hopefully bring that kind of like peace and, you know, to their lives. That's what I love about like your approach to doing all of this, that it's more about, yes, it's about the stuff, and yes, it's about the organization, but it's like,
it's so much deeper. It's inner work.
Yes.
Because it's like a vicious circle. If you're anxious, if you're not happy, everything else in your life, like your physical space, gets affected. And then your physical space affects your mental state. It goes in a circle. So you can either take like some simple steps and making just your living area, maybe, or maybe your office table or something small, seeing the effect of it. Or you can do it how I like to do it, which is figure out what is causing all that mental clutter. And then getting very clear on your core values and prioritizing them. And then you can start the physical declutter as well, one small step at a time. But
so you're saying the outer, that's secondary, almost secondary. It's like go with the inner first, like the inner stuff first, and then have your space sort of reflect that. And then once that's reflecting back to you, you get out of the cycle of like, I mean, I wish I could show you, and I'm not going to. Literally, I cannot. Like what's on the, like, I'm just now organizing my office, which is why I was like, I can't wait for you. But I am so spatially sensitive. And yet I can also like let things go for a while. And every time I get to that place where I'm like, it's driving me mad, which has happened over the last few days, it's because I'm not taking care of me. Like I'm
mhm.
noticing places and I'm like, I'm neglecting myself. I'm neglecting my
Mhm.
sleep. I'm neglecting this or that or the other.
Yeah.
I'm staying busy. I'm probably way too social than I need to be right now. I need some alone time. I need, and I'm not doing it. And then it
Mhm.
reaches this point where like everything around me is reflecting
Yeah.
that. So you're talking and I'm like, oh, that's what's happening. Like, so
Yeah.
this is exactly what's happening in my life right now. This is great. And
In
you're going to
all
help.
areas of our life. So the inner work is very important. But at the same time, I don't want to say like that's the only way to go. I'm all about,
Right.
this is something that I'm working on myself too. I'm not a very flexible person. In my past, I used to be very extreme, like it's perfect or it's like, so I'm trying to be more balanced and learn that,
Mm,
today my body and my mind needs this. It's okay to go off and do this. But then it doesn't mean that it's always going to be like, it's okay the next day to check in. But at the same time, I like also to have a plan. But I think what I wanted to say is, yes, the inner work is very important. And if you can do that, do that. But sometimes there's just a lot, especially if somebody hasn't been doing any work for
mhm.
themselves. So it might be hard to do it first. So seeing those simple things, just like your purse or the glove section of your car, or um, just your sitting area, or maybe just making a corner somewhere where you can just sit and read and not see anything distracting, and see how that affects you, might motivate you to actually do the inner work and do it. So I think I can't say which one goes first. It just
Right.
really
Right.
depends on the individual.
Right. I love the start
But
small approach though, too. It's
that is the
like
most important thing.
your purse,
Mhm,
your desk, your
mhm,
car. Cause I think what happens a lot of time is we think of the whole project and then
mhm,
we get overwhelmed and throw in the towel and it just feels like too much and we'll get to it later. But
mhm,
the small thing, like I literally after we hang up, I'm going to go through your steps and I'm going
mhm.
to reorganize my bag and I'm going to decide if I'm keeping this bag or not based on it. So I'll let you know.
And not just in the physical space, also in your mental space. Maybe it's just, okay, today I'm going to take um, 15 minutes to unsubscribe from the latest emails that no longer interest me. It's just 15 minutes. And
Right
once I
on.
do it, I'm going to celebrate it, and reward yourself. I know from my experience and my friends that we're so hard on ourselves when we
Mhm.
don't do something the way we wanted to or expected would happen.
Yes.
And then
We'll
the
beat ourselves up.
negative talk is so, like, it's so harsh. I literally, in my journal, I have, other than like documenting my day and like writing my gratitudes, another thing that I always do since this June that's helped me so much is writing down compliments to myself,
Mm,
and just to look at that, because I've noticed that I might do so much work and important things all day, but then at the end of the day, I used to just think about that one thing that I wish I fit. Why? And then it felt like I hadn't accomplished anything all day,
mm,
and it just was heavy. And now when
mhm.
I write down, I'm like, oh my God, you did this? Oh, wow. Like, and then it motivates me to keep doing even more the next day. Or even if I didn't get anything done, just to be kind to myself the way I would be to my kid or my best friend,
Right.
instead of like being like, oh, you didn't do this. I'm like, I did my best. I really tried my best. And that's what I try to do nowadays. It's like, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, of course. And we're evolving all the time. But just this practice has helped me so much in becoming nicer person to myself.
I love that. This is so good too for like the listeners. I love that it's like, yeah, we're gonna you know, have some tips on to declutter your space, but this podcast is about overall like restoring ourselves and feeling better. And so I feel like this is a much deeper conversation and I love it. And I
Mhm.
also like want to have you back at some point. But And I also have to get you in my office. Oh, I have to put my date in, right, to the thing. Did I not do that yet? Oh, I don't think I did that yet, but I will. Sona, thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for your tips, but thank you for like the deeper conversation around it.
Oh my
It's
God,
hard to
thank you
do.
so much for having me. It's a privilege to share